Hello, everybody. This is a more sober video because I want to talk about a topic that I think is very important. Um, but it's not with any pleasure that I talk about this. And it's basically what's going on with Joe Biden and his mental health. Look, I don't want to politicize that because cognitive decline is really sad and it is really scary. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody, not even on Joe Biden, so that we can win this primary. No, it's terrible, and I wish it wasn't happening. I want to defeat Joe Biden on the merit of our ideas, not senseless attacks. But talking about Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline is not a personal attack, and it's not politicking. This is something that we need to be very concerned about. I noticed from the moment I started watching the debates that it just seemed like something was off with him. And again, this doesn't have anything to do with wanting to defeat him as a candidate. This is from the very beginning, back when he was a front runner, when he first announced, through the time periods where he was losing Iowa and New Hampshire, and even when Buttigieg was looking like he was going to be the primary person that we needed to worry about, or maybe Bloomberg. Even during the times where it seemed like Joe Biden was down and out, when I made that prediction video of Joe Biden is done, he's out of here, he's never won a presidential primary, he's not going to start now. After what he did in Iowa and New Hampshire, he's calling himself the electability candidate. He can't even win those states, and now we're going into Nevada. Nevada's going to flip for Sanders, and then South Carolina is just going to do the same. Even at that time, when there was no reason for me to want to attack Joe Biden, and in fact, the Bernie Sanders campaign really wasn't even attacking him adequately, I still saw serious problems with Joe Biden's cognitive functioning and the way that he answers questions during the debate, the way that he speaks. So why am I making this video? I'm making this video because it's kind of a call to action of sorts. I don't know how we're going to do this without seeming like we just want to take advantage of this for our own personal reasons. Maybe that's not possible. But it's got to be called out. It's got to be called out because this is different than the nonsense garbage that was going on with people calling out Hillary because she fainted one time. Oh no, oh, there must be something wrong with her, That was a completely different, and stupid thing going on there. But this is not like that. This has just been an ongoing hot mess throughout the entire primary, and the fact that his family is, I don't want to shame the family. Look, I just feel like it needs to be addressed, and we need to stop kind of tiptoeing around it. The media needs to address it. And all of us as Americans, not as Bernie Sanders supporters, forget that. As Americans, we need to address the fact that we are about to nominate someone to for the presidency. That might be in cognitive decline. And I'm not going to say that he has dementia. I'm not a doctor, okay? So I'm not in a position to diagnose him, and I'm not his doctor anyway. So I'm not in a position to do that. But I mean, I want to read a little bit of this article by the Washington Monthly. I don't know. It's Nancy Letourneau. Thank you, Nancy. Let's read your wonderful article. We're going to read parts of it. She's basically talking about how, oh, I can't believe people are bringing up Biden's cognitive decline, and this isn't fair, and it's ridiculous. And so she's already set it up. Now she goes on to say this. All of this, meaning us actually bringing up legitimate concerns about a person's mental faculties, right? All of this feels very familiar. During the 2016 election, both Trump and the Sanders camp attempted to paint Hillary Clinton as corrupt. Now we can go into a little bit slightly less sober part of the video. Excuse me, paint Hillary Clinton as corrupt? Nobody has to do very much painting, okay? Hillary Clinton has filled that canvas out just fine, okay? She's corrupt, period. It's not a question. I mean, we don't need to even look at, I don't know, say the Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation and the nonsense we've seen going on there to point to her corruption. Just look at the 2016 campaign. The way that she, as a person with power, used the DNC, basically bribed them out with money by paying off, by basically buying out the DNC and their debts and what was going on with their terrible financial situation. She bought the DNC through doing that, and then they basically operated as an arm of her campaign while they lied and deceptively tried to tell the American people that they were operating as some neutral arbiter, when really they were an extension of the Hillary Clinton campaign. Hillary Clinton's campaign was approving press releases from the DNC. Think about that for a minute. So I'm not sure where you get off telling people that the Sanders campaign tried to paint Hillary Clinton as corrupt. Trump tried to paint Hillary Clinton as corrupt. No, nobody had to paint Hillary Clinton as anything. That's exactly the problem with the candidates that you neoliberal establishment hacks choose in election after election after election. Because you do choose corrupt people. You do choose people that will play ball in this current system. And in order to really play ball in this current system, it means you are corrupt. And Hillary Clinton is no exception to that. So we put forward these terrible candidates who are corrupt, who are looking out for their own interests, who are looking out for the interests of the wealthy elites. And then we turn around and scold the American public when they don't go for that in the general, when they don't show up to vote for somebody who cares more about their own bottom line than the American people. How ridiculous is this country? How ridiculous that this, whatever her name is, that wrote this already stupid article would be able to have a career in anything close to journalism, op-ed, any of this, like in any magazine or newspaper or media company across this country would think about hiring somebody that can say something that stupid when that is just objectively, demonstrably, provably false. She's corrupt. Look up the definition of corrupt in the dictionary. Look it up, screenshot it, send it to me. You're going to see Hillary Clinton's picture right there. Now, both sides, both the Trump, those terrible Trumpers and those terrible Bernie Sanders bros, have teamed up on an attack against Biden. We've all watched Biden stumble with words during debates and extemporaneous speeches. So as people committed to examining facts and evidence, it is important to gather what we know about this particular attack and not simply dismiss it because of the sources from which it is emanating. The first thing that's important to do is to define the term. So she gives the Mayo Clinic's definition of cognitive impairment. We're going to get into more about what cognitive impairment is all about in just a few minutes, and an excerpt that I'm going to give you from another article. But let's continue. The second piece of evidence to consider is that in December, Biden released a 3-page summary of his medical history in which his doctor declared him to be a healthy, vigorous 77-year-old fully capable of taking on the role of president. I don't care about that. I mean, when you're wealthy and elite and powerful, you can find a doctor that will say what you want him to say. Okay? Either you're going to release, a summary that basically says that that I am fit to climb Mount Everest, or I'm going to find another doctor. Okay, he could find a doctor that could tell him he was good to go deep sea diving, into the world's deepest trench. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't obviously he can find whatever he wants. When you got money, you can get anything on your 3-page summary. That doesn't make it objectively true just because his doctor says it. Puts out basically a press release for us. I mean, come on. He's running for president. He wants to run for president. So obviously he's going to have his doctor say ain't nothing wrong with him. Anyway, the only test that has been done so here's something. So watch this. Here's what Stuart J. Olshansky, a professor of public health at the University of Illinois at Chicago, who analyzes the longevity of presidents, said about cognitive abilities after reviewing Joe Biden's report. Now, watch this quote. The only test that hasn't been done is the cognitive functioning test. Oh, stop. Like, really? The only test that hasn't been done is the cognitive functioning test. Yeah. Well, the cognitive functioning is what we are criticizing. I'm not even going to say criticizing, just pointing out. The cognitive functioning is what we take issue with. The cognitive function is what we're concerned about. And it's the only test that hasn't been done. Yeah, okay, we'll do it and then release the information. Everybody's coming out here in the media making some big deal about, oh, Bernie Sanders, oh, he had a heart attack. Oh my gosh, like he has stents put in. I mean, Bloomberg got the same thing that happened and he's been living on decades since then. But we're going to sit here and fearmonger about Bernie Sanders and the heart attack because it's politically convenient. Oh my God, oh Lord, oh. And we got this guy who's literally sitting up there on stage, just incoherent. And then you're going to tell me that he has this 3-page summary of a medical history in which his doctor declares him healthy. Okay. And then there's no cognitive functioning test that's actually been done. I mean, really? How stupid do we all look? But the fact that he's on the campaign trail and meeting a rigorous travel schedule and meeting schedule probably would suffice as a replacement for the formal test for probably. So this is a laughable article. The fact that he's out there on the campaign trail probably suffices as a replacement for an actual cognitive functioning test so we can make sure that we're not about to put a president into the White House who may have dementia. Like, really? And look at the double standard here. Do you see them giving Bernie Sanders that kind of credit? When do you ever see anyone in the mainstream media write an article that says, well, the fact that Bernie Sanders is on the campaign trail and meeting this rigorous travel and meeting schedule is probably suffices for his doctor's note? No, never. They're just like, when are you going to release it? When are you going to release it? When are you going to release it? When are you going to tell us what your doctor? When are you going to release it? Wow, man. Wow. Okay, let's continue. Oh, love this next little line. This is not a direct quote, but I guess this is the person who wrote this article summarizing what Olshansky said. He said that cognitive tests are typically not required unless problems are detected. Olshansky, writer of this article, everyone in the mainstream media, and every one of you saps watching this video right now. Shout out to you. Hashtag saps for Bernie. Problems, unless problems are detected. Unless problems are detected. Okay. I'm going to give you a quote from Biden. You ready? And you tell me if you detect any problems. I'm going to give you a quote from Biden. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women created you know the thing." That's not a problem. No problems detected there? No problems detected. That's completely normal? Oh, okay, cool. Wow. All right. Well, anyway, let's continue. In the January-February issue of The Atlantic, John Hendrickson writes that Biden's verbal stumbles have voters worried about his mental fitness. Maybe they'd be more understanding if they knew he's still fighting a stutter. We know he stutters. That's like not really even half the issue. A stutter does not get worse as a person ages, but trying to keep it at bay can take immense physical and mental energy. Biden talks all day to audiences. In addition to periodically stuttering or blocking on certain sounds, he appears to intentionally not stutter by switching to an alternative word. A technique called circumlocution, which can yield mangled syntax. I've been following practically everything he said for months now, and sometimes what is quickly characterized as a memory lapse is actually just a stutter. Oh, I see. So they're going to excuse Joe Biden's clear moments where he can't remember very important things for him to need to remember. And just be like, oh, it's just a stutter. I mean, remember when he forgot Obama's name? And it happened on more than one occasion. That was a stutter too, then, I guess. Just whenever I forget someone's name, I'll just say I have a stuttering problem. I mean, look, we all forget names. That does happen. But like, Obama? The person you were the vice president of, and the person who is the only reason that you're about to potentially, that you're the front runner for president of the United States right now, the one sole person, more than any other person, who is responsible for you being even close to a factor in president of the United States right now, and you can't remember his name. Wow. As a stutterer himself, Hendrickson critiques Biden for suggesting he overcame his stutter. So now this guy's kind of there saying, you shouldn't say that you overcame your stutter because you didn't overcome it. That's why you can't tell the difference between your wife and your daughter and your sister. It's because you have a stutter. Guys, this is not good. This isn't good. Like, this is about the future of the country. And quite frankly, it's about the correct treatment of someone who very possibly could be in cognitive decline. And if he really is being put out here like this and propped up out here like this when he actually is in cognitive decline and they know it and they're just not sharing it with us, then that is absolutely reprehensible. It is elder abuse, and they are absolutely responsible for whatever damage he may do to the country if he becomes president. This is the data we have available about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. What it all comes down to is that there is an alternative explanation, they say, for his verbal stumbles, and his medical records did not indicate a cognitive impairment. Yeah, well, there was no real cognitive test, now was there? So it didn't indicate it because it's not there. And it's an alternative explanation. Yeah, sounds almost like an alternative facts to me. Yeah, you have your alternative explanation, and I have mine. Which one seems to make the most common sense? Oh my God. Look, I'm just going to go to this other article. So I love this part of the article because it's just so so true. This is from CaitlinJohnstone.com. Now, I want to point out this part of the article that I think is really interesting. The article is called "Stop Calling It a Stutter." Here are dozens of examples of Biden's dementia symptoms by Caitlin Johnstone. Before I get to this quote from Biden, here's a list of the Mayo Clinic's symptoms for a stutter. You ready? Difficulty starting a word, phrase, or sentence, prolonging a word or sounds within a word, repetition of a sound, syllable, or word, brief silence for certain syllables or words, or pauses within a word, addition of extra words such as if difficulty moving on to the next word is anticipated, excess tension, tightness, or movement of the face or upper body to produce a word, anxiety about talking, limited ability to effectively communicate. I mean, I stutter from time to time. Okay, now let's look at a list of the Mayo Clinic's dementia symptoms, right? Memory loss, which is usually noticed by a spouse or someone else, or the American people. Difficulty communicating or finding words, difficulty with visual or spatial abilities such as getting lost while driving, difficulty reasoning or problem solving, difficulty handling complex tasks, difficulty with planning or organizing, difficulty with coordination and motor function, confusion, and disorientation. Those two lists do not look anything alike to me. Those are like completely different lists. So I'm not sure how you can just claim that one is the other. They're not the same. So I want to read this part of the article. It's easy to overlook linguistic peculiarities when they're spoken. So I've made a verbatim transcript of Biden's complete answer exactly as he spoke it. There are no typos. Read it carefully, resisting the urge to mentally reword it in order to make it make sense. Now, I want to pause here a minute before I read this quote from Biden that was given during a debate, a nationally televised debate where he is running to be the Democratic Party's nominee for president of these United States. Now, before I read, I want to just say, I've said this over and over again, that if you pull up and actually read a transcript of Joe Biden talking, it's just like, wow. It's just even more stark. And this person is, I totally agree with this, with their assessment here. So let's read this quote from Biden. Let's go ahead and read through this. You ready? Here's what he said, like actually said on television, okay? Well, they have to deal with look, there is institutional segregation in this country. And from the time I got involved, I started dealing with that. Redlining, banks, making sure that we're in a position where, look, talk about education. I propose that what we take is those very poor schools, the Title I schools, triple the amount of money we spend from 15 to 45 billion a year. Give every single teacher a raise that equal raise to getting out the $60,000 level. Did I read that right? Give every single teacher a raise that equal raise to getting out the 60, yeah, I read it correctly. Number 2, make sure that we bring into the help the student, the teachers deal with the problems that come from home. The problems that come from home. We have one school psychologist for every 1,500 kids in America today. It's crazy. The teachers are now, I'm married to a teacher. My deceased wife is a teacher. They have every problem coming to them. Make sure that every single child does in fact have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds go to school. School, not daycare. School. We bring social workers into homes of parents to help them deal with how to raise their children. It's not that they don't want to help. I read that wrong, sorry. It says they don't know quite what to do. Play the radio. Make sure make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. That's stuttering. That was stuttering, okay? Make sure the kids hear words. A kid coming from a very poor school, a very poor background, will hear 4 million fewer words spoken by the time they get there. Dude, like that, oh my gosh, like, When you sit down and actually read it like that, it's incredible. And the author of this article points out and I want to credit him for, that when people were, this answer did get some criticism, but people were talking about the fact that it was a call for people to use the radio or the freaking like archaic technology such as the record player, right? And then sort of his paternalistic approach to black Americans needing to be taught how to raise their children correctly. That's what everyone was up in arms about. But never mind the fact that we got a president of the United States, potential future president of the United States, that is rambling on like this incoherently. It is an absolute complete word salad. Wow. Just wow. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with this comprehensive list. Well, probably not complete list. I'm sure not complete list of the different things that Joe Biden has said. We need to share this. We need to remind people of this. We need to know because, dude, this is scary. This is not, first of all, it's just point blank period, not what we want in the president of the United States. Just period. That's not what we should want in our president of the United States. This is not good for the president of the United States, period. But aside from that, even if we're coming at this from a purely political perspective or just a let's beat Trump perspective, this is not what we need if we're hoping to choose the candidate that will be most likely to defeat Trump. We need someone who can actually talk. Joe Biden's mental faculties, Trump's mental faculties ain't all that great either. But who's worse, Joe Biden or Trump right now? Be objective. Don't think with your hatred of him and his policies. I'm talking about who's worse in terms of their speaking abilities right now. There's no question it's Joe Biden. And we're going to put these two on stage with each other? Joe Biden is not going to beat Trump. Here's a list of some things that Joe Biden has said. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the go, you know the thing. I gave you that quote earlier. Just nonsense. Super Thursday. Okay, Super Thursday. This guy has been a politician his whole life. He's calling it Super Thursday. Okay? All right. I'm the Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other Biden. Okay. All right, Chuck. Okay, calling Chris Wallace Chuck. I guess maybe he thought it was Chuck Todd. Talks about being right here in the state of South Carolina, which I've never heard of that state. He randomly bit his wife's finger. I mean, maybe that was just a playful thing that he did. I don't know. Maybe he could get a pass on that. I mean, I wouldn't do that in public, but whatever. Talked about how he worked with Deng Xiaoping on the climate accord during the Obama administration. Oh, what's wrong with that? That sounds perfectly normal. Deng Xiaoping died 23 years ago. You ain't work with him on no Obama nothing, because this was 23 years ago, long before Obama was the president and long before the Paris Climate Accord. Poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids. That could just be a Joe Biden gaffe. He's been gaffing like that his entire life, okay? And then there's the one about him the kids rubbing down his hairy legs. Yo, if you haven't heard this video, I'm gonna play the audio. Just play it so you can hear it. Hopefully you can hear this audio. Yo, listen to this. Just listen to it, okay? This is one of the most alarming moments of public speech that I think I've probably ever heard from almost anyone, including Trump. And it's complete. Just listen to it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down So it was trained, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you what.
What? What in the entire heck was that? Does that sound like a stutter to you? Seriously though, let's get real. Does that sound like a stutter to you? Don't let the mainstream media gaslight us, and don't let them continue the elder abuse of this man. We're looking out for you, Joe Biden. I'm concerned. This is not normal behavior. If you look at him and do yourself another favor and go back and watch his debates, how he completely decimated Sarah Palin, how he completely mopped the floor with Paul Ryan. Watch his debates from his previous presidential runs. Witty, smart, quick on his feet. I mean, he's always said crazy, dumb stuff, but like really quick on his feet, witty, like just completely coherent. And then watch any of the recent debates. It's sad. It's really sad. It's almost like, you know how you watch Whitney Houston, her whole de-evolution. You go back and watch. You know, you see some of the recent stuff. Well, I mean, she's dead now, but you see some of the stuff from the 2000s era, and you're like, oh, okay, well, you know, I mean, maybe not that great. But then you go back and watch that stuff from the early 90s, from the 80s, and you're just like, those live performances where she sounds like 10 times better than any of these so-called singers we got now. Even on their, she sounds better live than they do on their daggone CDs. Okay, that's what we got going on with Joe Biden here. Go back and watch that Joe Biden. And think about how that Joe Biden might have fared in this primary with these crazies that we had in this weak field that we had in this here primary. Imagine that Joe Biden being in this 2020 primary. Wow. But that's not the Joe Biden that we got in this primary. You watch this one, it's just night and day, ladies and gentlemen, night and day. I'm concerned about this country. We should all be. And it is not politicizing to bring up evidence of a potential cognitive decline when we see it right in front of us. This person is not auditioning to be the next American Idol or Miss America. We are trying to determine who will be the president of the United States. Cognitive functioning matters, maybe even more so than heart condition. But you'll never hear that from anyone in the mainstream media. So keep coming back here to the Progressive Hoodie. All right, well, that's it. Everyone have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Deuces.